this wretched bill thoroughly, and I hope he will do so.
I apologise to the noble lord for being a little premature. My lords, one of the striking things about this very interesting debate is that noble lords on all sides of the chamber have spoken in many cases as if they were proceeding from a sort of fundamental principle of great importance to them. For some, it was the vision of what our country is. For others, it was a universal principle of humanitarianism. For others, again, it might have been a commitment to internationalism as a means of resolving problems. And there were others, of course. My fundamental starting point is more mundane. It is the international legal principle that no country is obliged to admit foreign nationals. And if they do so, they may impose conditions on that entry. Now, of course, we in this country mitigate that right, our right, to refuse to admit foreign nationals, in ways that we have chosen to do over the past. For example, when we were members of the European Union, we gave free access to the country to citizens of EU member states. Another way in which we have abridged that international right is by entering, of course, into the Refugee Convention. And inevitably, these sorts of arrangements involve some sort of international agreement, and so can be categorized as falling under the heading of international law. I'm not, of course, a lawyer nor making a legal point, but we need, as in my view, to take account, as my just disappeared noble friend Lord Balfe said, of the circumstances in which we entered into those arrangements and whether those circumstances continue to apply, because we have, in my view, a degree of flexibility about how we apply them in the light of changing circumstances. The circumstances in which we entered the Refugee Convention contemplated broadly the care of often large numbers of people displaced by war and other catastrophes, usually in adjacent countries, and on a temporary basis until they could return safely to their home. How is it, and I think a lot of people would ask this question, how is it that by means of the same convention we are having a debate this evening about transcontinental travel facilitated by profitable travel agencies run as a business? They may be criminal enterprises, but they are profitable travel agencies run as a business, with a view to permanent settlement. This is a very long way indeed from where we started. Now, some people may say, well, of course, the world has changed since we entered the convention, and this is what the world is like now, and we should share our burden. And I fully accept arguments that say that it is right that Britain, as a leading international power, should share burdens. And there are ways in which we can share burdens by doing things for people who are displaced into countries, not necessarily by coming to this country, but helping them in the places where they are displaced. And it could be said that we could do more on that front. We then come, I can't resist saying this, to references to the European Convention on Human Rights. I find it very hard from many noble lords to accept comments about the European Convention on Human Rights when we so lightly pass over the fact that the rights of the people, of our own people in Northern Ireland, to a say in the laws they live under, is abridged by the Northern Ireland Protocol and by the Windsor framework that has followed it. But when it suits us, we're all for the European Convention on Human Rights, but we're willing to blink it when it doesn't. And I think there is a degree of double-sightedness on that, if I may call that. Now, I do have some concerns. It's not all good news for my noble friend on the front bench. I do have some concerns about the bill, in particular the fact, which has been alluded to glancingly by some noble lords, that it deliberately catches some British citizens within its scope. It is possible, in fact, to be a British citizen and still be an illegal migrant under this bill and denied access to British citizenship as a result of being an illegal migrant. And that is because the drafters of the bill, I assume from the Home Office, have, as they have so often in the past, deliberately conflated the two concepts of naturalisation and registration. They have treated them separately in the bill in separate clauses, but they have imposed the same penalties and the same process. And it will not be the first time that I've reminded noble lords that the two things are entirely different. Naturalisation is a concession whereby the British government gives citizenship to people of foreign nationality. Registration, a process I believe introduced by the post-war Labour government, is a process whereby the British state acknowledges an existing right to British citizenship, which has been difficult to establish either through the vagueness of circumstances or the want of proper documentation. It is akin to the sort of blunders we fell into that led to the scandal of the Windrush problem. Now, I do believe that the bill needs to be amended, looked at very carefully, to ensure that those who are entitled to British citizenship by way of registration are not denied those rights because they arrive in the country irregularly. And I'll be coming back, I hope other noble lords will be coming back to this when we reach committee.